Hi, I'm here with Sorcha Richardson, and I am from Radio K. And how are you doing? You
I'm good. How are you doing?
good. You got in yesterday.
Got in yesterday afternoon. Yeah, yesterday afternoon.
Settling in all right.
Yeah, I got here. Some of my friends there's a load of my friends from Ireland who are here also playing. So they were like a block away at a bar having a drink. So I was like, that'll be a nice little easy initiation.
Yeah. And then you're playing tonight, right?
Yes.
How are you feeling about it?
I'm feeling good.
Yeah.
Feeling good. I'm like coming at it from like I've been on a US tour for the last week. So it's kind of feel like we're in the swing of it now. So
Yeah. How's that tour been going?
really good, really fun.
Yeah.
Only 3 shows so far, but we just did. Last show was a sold out show in New York, which was like a kind of a bucket list thing. I used to live in New York and I used to play loads of shows in New York to like my friends and the bartender.
Cool.
So it was nice to come back and play a show to my friends and the bartender and like more people than that, you know.
Yeah. So I know you've only been here for a little bit. Have you seen any shows? Any artists?
No.
No, not yet.
But I am not yet, but I am going to go to a show immediately after this. That a band that a friend of mine manages, but I can't remember the name of the band. But I will know it after I see them play.
Okay.
Yeah.
That'll be fun. You have any good food yet?
I had really good tacos yesterday.
I did too.
Yeah,
Really good tacos. There's a lot of good tacos here.
yeah, there are good tacos, and I just had very nice coffee. So that's 2 for 2.
Alrighty. Well, we're gonna dig into some of the meat of this. So,
Okay.
good question.
Yeah.
What was your first introduction to music? What was that kind of spark?
My granddad was a like jazz keyboard player, and he used to pick me up from school. He lived around the corner from where I went to school, so I used to go to his house when I was very young and watch him play keyboards. And then he got a new keyboard, gave me his old keyboard probably when I was about 6 or 7, I think. And that I used to just play. I used to make up little jingles on it all the time. I feel like that was once I got that, then I just kind of I never really stopped. You know, that was like the first thing that kind of had me hooked.
Yeah. So keyboard was your first kind of
Well,
first.
It was, except I never took lessons on it. So I taught myself how to play it, but then I started learning guitar when I was about, I think I was about 9 or 10. I started learning the drums around the same time. So when I was growing up, like drums was my main instrument.
Okay.
I didn't really sing until I was like 18. So that was kind of I was really late to singing. Yeah.
Yeah. So then, what made you want to move into singing? How did you figure that out?
I think I moved to New York when I was 18, and I started writing, like as soon as I could play guitar, I started writing songs. So I had loads and loads and loads of songs, but nobody to sing them, and I was kind of too embarrassed to sing them myself. So I think when I moved to New York, it was just that I didn't know anybody, so I felt less embarrassed because I could go to a bar and like play my songs, and I wouldn't see like, you know, my cousin or someone there. If it was terrible, I felt like I could be really bad and nobody would have to know about it. And I think it was because when I moved to New York, I didn't have my drum kit either, so I was kind of like missing some kind of musical vehicle to kind of occupy myself.
Yeah.
So it was I just had songs that I wanted people to hear, and I thought I should just try sing them myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you went out to New York for school, right?
I went to New York for school, yeah.
Yeah. So when you went out to New York, you intentioned going to school, getting a degree, and then now you've moved more into music. Kind of tell me about what made you take that jump and make that switch.
I think I always kind of wanted to do music, but I was sort of scared of that in a way. So I did mostly like creative writing in college, and I think I was almost trying to convince myself that I would enjoy that as much as I liked music or something. By the end of my college degree, I was pretty sure that I wasn't going to go into that. Like I wasn't going to go write a book or whatever, as most of my classmates were. But yeah, it was just over the course of those 4 years, I was like, actually, nothing is as exciting to me as making music, and so it kind of it was like a process of elimination, you know.
Yeah. And so you're from Dublin, but you spent a lot of time early in that music career in New York. What was the scene like for somebody who is just kind of starting out?
The scene was very big. I actually found it kind of hard to find my way through it. You know, I would meet a lot of people who were like other musicians who were kind of from New York but it always felt like people were kind of passing through, and people were like, I'd have a band and then someone would move to LA and that kind of thing. So I actually kind of found it kind of a sort of overwhelming in a way, a difficult way to navigate. And then I moved back home to Dublin, and the scene was so much smaller, and it kind of gave me the thing that I feel like I was trying to find in New York.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, the Dublin scene's smaller, but is it you see a lot of the same people around, or is it still big enough that there's some variety?
There's a huge amount of variety. Yeah, like it's really there's a lot going on, and it's really kind of exciting at the minute. But it's small, so you play lots of the same festival. Even like loads of my friends from home are all here playing shows as well. So, and everyone, like, people play in each other's bands and that kind of thing. People go to each other's shows. It's really nice, I think. Yeah.
So kind of earlier on in your career, you put out a couple EPs. What was it like first sharing and putting out the music? Was it scary? Were you just like, I need to do it? Or tell me about that.
I wish I took my time with it more, to be honest with you. I think I put an EP out, and then within like 3 years was trying to like scrub the internet of it. It was kind of just like I didn't know how else to get things started. Do you know what I mean? I was interning at a record label at the time, and I remember one day on my lunch break or something, I was like, oh, I'll just send these songs to like a music blogger in Ireland who I knew, and then he posted them, and then all of a sudden within like 48 hours they had like loads of streams, and I was getting all these emails, and I was like, oh, maybe I should have had a bit more of a plan. But at the same time, I think I just wasn't sure. I was kind of unsure of like if anybody if anybody would care if I about the songs and that kind of thing. So it was encouraging, but I wouldn't, if I could do it again, I wouldn't do I would do it totally differently. Yeah,
totally.
That's like a what not to do, I think.
Yeah, and then eventually you put out your first full album,
Yes.
First Prize Bravery, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about that. How was that experience finally putting out something full?
That was really rewarding, because I'd spent like a couple of years just releasing, like you said, like EPs and singles, and so even making it I actually almost found it easier to make an album than I did to make a series of standalone singles. I think because it just meant it takes the pressure off some of the songs or something if they can be album songs rather than having to be like a big single, So yeah, I think I preferred that.
Yeah. So did your sound definitely change from those first EPs up into that album?
I think so. I mean, my first EPs, like, I made them some of them I made in my dorm room in New York with like a mic that I bought for $50. I mixed them, and I didn't know how to mix them. Do you know what I mean? They were almost like, I really feel like they were definitely demos. But I think I don't know. I just like played a lot more gigs, wrote a lot more songs, and so I sort of figured out how to sound like I wanted to sound.
Yeah, and then kind of I heard you had a little bit of a running theme through that album, like friendship, relationships, kind of. What was the inspiration behind a lot of that?
I think I just like writing songs about, like, for that album specifically, I wrote a lot of it when I was leaving New York and moving back home to Ireland. So I think it was like my way of kind of taking a photograph of like a certain time in my life. So lots of them are just about like days or conversations or nights that I wanted to remember.
Yeah, so like a memory book through music.
Yeah. Cool. I think so. Yeah.
Cool. And then you released a new album this past year. Tell me about that one.
That is called Smiling Like an Idiot. I wrote most of that kind of during the first lockdown or the second lockdown in Dublin. I was living at my granny's house and just kind of turned the front room into like a bit of a studio. And that's more about my life after moving back home to Dublin.
So kind of a change on just the focus in your life from that moving period to being back home, settled.
It's a much more specific and kind of condensed narrative, I think. It's most like lots of it tracks kind of one relationship, which kind of coincided with me moving back home to Dublin and like re-understanding my relationship to being in Ireland, Cool. So in a way it's kind of like a love letter to Dublin, but then some of it's also there's like a bit of like an undercurrent of anxiety that runs through the whole thing, so it's like not entirely happy, but yeah. Awesome. And then what's next? Like, what is next?
New plans, new music, touring, just kind of what's on your radar?
So what is next? So going to I'm going playing some shows on the West Coast next week, which are my first like headline shows out there. Then I'm thinking we'll hopefully be back in the States later in the year for more headline shows. I've like sort of started to demo out new songs, but that's like in a very early
working stage.
Yeah. But yeah, I think hopefully a lot more shows.
Yeah. You enjoying the tour?
I love it. Yeah,
love it.
It's been really fun. Fun.
Favorite city?
Oh God. I mean, the show in Philadelphia was pretty wild in a way that I didn't expect. So I'm kind of excited to go back to Philly again and play another show. But also New York was very special because it was like a kind of hometown gig. You know?
Kind of a homecoming.
Yeah.
Cool. And we're going to wrap this up real quick, but I want to ask, do you have anything you want to leave us with? Any advice?
Any advice?
Yeah.
Just don't email your first EP off to like a blogger just because you're bored at your internship. That would be my advice.
That's your advice?
Yeah. But even if you do, it'll be okay.
It'll be okay. Okay, thank you. Anyway, this was Radio K, and we were so glad that you could make some time to speak with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.